Welcome to our deep dive into some pretty captivating World War II history. We're going to be taking a look at some excerpts you sent over from a book called Reich of the Black Sun.
Oh, yes.
By Joseph P. Farrell.
It's a good one.
And it's full of some intriguing claims about Nazi Germany's technological developments.
Right.
So from potential atomic bomb development to the mysterious activities of the Kamlerstab and the Honor Bay.
Really interesting stuff.
There's a lot to unpack here.
We've got our work cut out for us.
It sounds like we're in for quite the investigative journey.
You know, what makes Farrell's work particularly compelling is that he brings in so many different types of sources to construct his narrative. We've got declassified documents, eyewitness accounts, historical analysis, all offering these unique perspectives on the events.
Yeah, and speaking of documents, the book mentions a Japanese diplomatic cable, the Hears Waffenamt's memorandum, and the farm hall transcripts as kind of key pieces of evidence. Yeah. So let's examine each of those documents in detail.
Sounds good. Those are really important pieces of the puzzle, each giving us a glimpse into a different facet of this alleged German atomic bomb program.
So let's start with this Japanese diplomatic cable. What exactly does it say, and why is it significant?
Okay, so this cable, it's dated June 1943, and it was sent from the Japanese embassy in Stockholm to Tokyo.
Interesting.
And it was written by a Japanese military attaché named General Onodera.
Okay.
And he reports getting information from a reliable German source who claimed that Germany had developed this new weapon capable of utterly wiping out an entire regiment of Russian soldiers.
Wiping out an entire regiment? That sounds like a weapon of mass destruction.
It does, doesn't it?
What kind of weapon was Onodera describing?
Well, this is where things get even more interesting. Onodera actually describes a bomb, and this bomb is based on the explosion of the nuclei of the atoms in heavy hydrogen derived from heavy water. He even goes on to mention that Germany has a plant in Rjukan, Norway, for producing heavy water, which, if you remember, had been a target of Allied bombing raids.
Right, of course. Well, heavy water, as I understand it, is used in nuclear reactors.
It is, yeah.
So could this be a clue that the weapon that Onodera is describing is nuclear in nature?
You know, it certainly points in that direction. Heavy water, it can be used as a moderator in nuclear reactors, and what that does is it slows down the neutrons, making the chain reaction more efficient. So Onodera specifically mentioning heavy water in connection with this weapon really suggests some form of nuclear technology.
But he mentions the explosion of the nuclei of the atoms in heavy hydrogen. Yeah. Now, heavy hydrogen, also known as deuterium, is used in fusion bombs, not fission bombs, right?
Right.
Could this just be a case of Onodera misunderstanding the science?
That's a really crucial observation. So fusion bombs, or hydrogen bombs as they're more commonly known, are much, much more powerful than fission bombs.
Right.
And the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, those were fission bombs.
Right.
So if Germany had actually developed a fusion bomb back in 1943, that would have been a technological leap way ahead of anything the Allies possessed at the time.
It's hard to believe.
It really is. It's possible that Onodera was just, using terminology he wasn't completely familiar with, or that his source maybe provided inaccurate information.
Okay, so we have this intriguing Japanese diplomatic cable that seems to at least hint at a German weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Potentially even a fusion bomb. But we need to be cautious about its reliability.
Of course, yeah.
So how do we go about verifying or refuting Onodera's claims?
Well, we need to consider the context of this cable, the reliability of Onodera's source, and any kind of corroborating evidence from other sources.
What about the timing and the location that were mentioned in the cable? Onodera refers to an incident southeast of Kursk in June of 1943.
Right.
This was during the Battle of Kursk, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. The Battle of Kursk was a major engagement on the Eastern Front, and it was one of the largest tank battles in history.
Wow.
And if the Germans did have a weapon capable of wiping out an entire regiment, it seems very logical that they would have used it at Kursk.
You would think.
But there are no official records of any weapon like this being deployed, at least not from the Allied side.
Well, perhaps the Soviets kept it secret. I mean, they were known to be very, very secretive about their losses and setbacks.
Right.
Could there be evidence, maybe buried in Soviet archives, that might shed some light on this?
That's a definite possibility, yeah. However, if such a devastating weapon had been used, you would expect to find some trace of it, even if it was suppressed by the Soviets. There might be eyewitness accounts, unusual battlefield debris, maybe even long-term environmental effects that could give us some clues.
Okay, so we need to be on the lookout for any signs of unusual activity or anomalies associated with the Battle of Kursk, particularly in the area that was mentioned by Onodera. We might find something in historical records, battlefield maps, or even declassified intelligence reports that could point us in the right direction.
Exactly. It's like putting together one of those historical jigsaw puzzles. Each piece of information, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem, could help us complete the picture.
I love that analogy.
Okay.
Let's move on to the Heereswaffenamt Memorandum.
Okay.
What's the story behind this document, and what insights does it offer into the German atomic program?
All right, so the Heereswaffenamt Memorandum, it's dated July 1942, and it was a report that was prepared by the German Army Weapons Office, specifically their Nuclear Physics Research Department.
Okay.
And this department, they were responsible for overseeing research into atomic energy.
All right.
And its potential applications for the military.
So this document is coming directly from the heart of the German military's scientific research division.
It is.
That sounds promising. What does it tell us about their progress?
Okay, so the memorandum kind of outlines the feasibility of actually developing an atomic bomb.
Right.
And it highlights the potential strategic implications of such a weapon.
Right.
It does acknowledge the challenges involved, particularly in terms of getting enough uranium and developing a really reliable detonation mechanism.
So they were aware of the possibility of creating an atomic bomb as early as 1942.
That's what it looks like.
I mean, that really challenges the common narrative that Germany wasn't even close to developing the bomb, doesn't it?
It does. It does. The memorandum provides evidence that the German military was seriously considering developing atomic weapons, even if the project was still kind of in its baby steps.
Right.
But it's important to keep in mind that, acknowledging the possibility of something doesn't necessarily mean you have the ability to actually do it.
Right. It's one thing to theorize about building an atomic bomb.
Exactly.
It's a whole other thing to actually build one. But this memorandum does seem to suggest that the Germans were at least taking the idea seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
And that they were actively trying to work through the scientific and technological challenges that were involved.
Yeah, they were definitely thinking about it and exploring those challenges. It gives us a really valuable window into the mindset of the German military leadership at this really crucial point in the war.
Okay, so we've examined the Japanese diplomatic cable.
Right.
We've looked at the Heereswaffenamt Memorandum. Let's move on to the farm hall transcripts.
Right.
Now, these are transcripts of conversations between captured German scientists after the war.
Right. Yes, that's right. So after Germany surrendered, 10 of their leading physicists were detained by the Allies at a country estate farm hall in England.
Okay.
And the Allies were secretly recording all their conversations.
Oh, wow.
Hoping to glean some insight into the German atomic program.
So we have these scientists basically under house arrest.
Right.
Unaware that their every word is being monitored.
Exactly.
What kind of conversations were they having?
Well, their discussions covered all sorts of topics, from, personal stuff like their lives and their reflections on the war, to scientific matters, including, of course, their research into atomic energy.
Right.
And the transcripts reveal a whole mix of emotions: shock, disbelief when they hear about the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, pride in their own scientific accomplishments, but also this underlying concern about their future.
Did they reveal anything about their involvement in the German atomic program? Did any of them admit to working on a bomb?
Well, that's where the transcripts become really, really intriguing. Because these scientists were evasive at times, downplaying their knowledge of any atomic weapons research and emphasizing their focus on the peaceful applications of atomic energy.
Were they deliberately trying to mislead the Allies, or were they genuinely unaware of the extent of the German atomic program?
Well, that is the million-dollar question surrounding the farm hall transcripts, isn't it? Some historians, they think that these scientists were just trying to protect themselves and their colleagues from potentially being prosecuted as war criminals.
Sure.
Others, they argue that these scientists were genuinely surprised by the news of the atomic bombings, suggesting that they really hadn't made much progress towards developing a bomb themselves.
It sounds like these transcripts are really open to interpretation. How does Farrell interpret these conversations, and what conclusions does he draw from them?
Farrell, he argues that the scientists' reactions to the Hiroshima bombing and their subsequent discussions, reveal that they had a deeper understanding of atomic physics than they were initially letting on.
Interesting.
He suggests that they were deliberately downplaying their knowledge, as you mentioned, to protect themselves and their colleagues.
So he thinks they were playing a sort of intellectual poker game with the Allies, trying to hide their true hand.
Essentially, yeah. He believes that by carefully analyzing their conversations, their choice of words, their reactions to certain events, we can gain a better understanding of the true extent of their knowledge and the progress of the German atomic program.
Okay, so we have these 3 key documents. The Japanese diplomatic cable.
Yes.
The Roswell memorandum.
Right.
And the farmhall transcripts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Each offering a different piece of the puzzle. But it seems like none of them provide conclusive evidence that Germany actually had developed an atomic bomb. What other evidence does Farrell present to support his claims?
Well, he points to several other pieces of evidence, including, eyewitness accounts of unusual explosions and aerial phenomena.
Okay.
The kind of mysterious activities of the Kammlerstab and the Ahnenerbe and the alleged disappearance of some key figures like Hans Kammler.
Right, right.
And we'll explore these intriguing claims in more detail as we continue this deep dive.
Yeah, it sounds like we're really just scratching the surface here.
I think so.
Of this very fascinating and complex topic. Yeah, I'm really eager to delve into these other pieces of evidence and see what they reveal.
It's going to be an interesting journey for sure. This investigation is really just beginning. And each document, each piece of evidence, it offers us a clue.
Yeah.
A thread that we can follow to try to unravel this historical mystery.
Well, then let's continue our deep dive.
Let's do.
And see where these threads lead us.
I'm excited. So, moving on from the documents, let's shift our focus a little bit to some of the physical evidence and eyewitness accounts that Farrell brings to the table.
Okay.
He points to the IG Farben Buna plant at Auschwitz as a potential site for uranium enrichment, suggesting that its massive energy consumption might point to a hidden purpose.
The Buna plant at Auschwitz, that's, it's a chilling juxtaposition.
Isn't it?
I remember reading that this facility consumed more electricity than the entire city of Berlin.
Yeah.
Yet its supposed output of synthetic rubber was minimal.
It was strange.
That does raise questions.
It does.
About what was really going on there.
Yeah, and Farrell argues that the plant's location, its proximity to the uranium mines in the Sudetenland, and just the level of secrecy that surrounded its operations make it a prime candidate for a hidden uranium enrichment facility. Mm-hmm. He suggests that the German scientists might have been using some really advanced techniques to enrich uranium more efficiently than previously thought possible.
Well, if they were enriching uranium at Auschwitz,
right?
Wouldn't there be some trace left behind?
You'd think.
Radiation, contamination, something like that.
That's a logical question, but we have to remember that radiation does decay over time.
That's true.
If the facility was dismantled, or maybe they just really thoroughly cleaned it up after the war, the radiation levels, they just might be undetectable today.
But wouldn't there be records, blueprints,
mm-hmm.
or something to indicate that the plant was being used for something other than synthetic rubber production?
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
However, it's also possible that the Nazis destroyed any incriminating documents
as the war was ending.
Exactly. To cover their tracks, or maybe those documents are still classified, hidden away in some government archive somewhere.
So it's a bit of a historical dead end, at least for now.
Yeah.
We have these tantalizing clues that suggest something suspicious was definitely happening at the Buna plant.
Uh-huh.
But without more concrete evidence, it's hard to say for sure.
Well, it's a classic historical puzzle. We have these little pieces of information that sort of hint at a much larger story.
Yeah.
But we might just be missing some crucial links.
Right.
Maybe further research, declassification of more documents, or even some archaeological investigations at the site could shed more light on what was really going on.
It sounds like we need a whole team of historians, scientists, and forensic investigators.
Exactly. We need to get to the bottom of this.
To crack this case wide open. Speaking of mysteries, Farrell's book also goes into this alleged development of what he calls Nazi UFOs.
Oh, yeah.
These disc-shaped aircraft that supposedly utilize Victor Schauberger's implosion technology.
Right. That definitely sparks the imagination.
It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it?
So how plausible is it that the Nazis were actually building flying saucers?
Right.
I mean, the laws of physics haven't changed.
Right.
What kind of technology could even allow for that kind of flight?
That's a great question. While some of these claims around Nazi UFOs might just be exaggerations or misinterpretations of, regular aircraft.
Sure.
Farrell does suggest that the Germans might have been exploring some really advanced aerodynamic principles and unconventional propulsion systems. Mm-hmm. He points to the work of Victor Schauberger, an Austrian inventor who was fascinated by these natural forms of energy and how they could be applied to technology.
Schauberger's implosion technology, right? I'm still trying to wrap my head around how that's supposed to work.
Well, Schauberger, he believed that nature's processes, so things like the swirling motion of water or the way plants grow in these spirals, could be harnessed to create powerful and efficient energy sources.
Okay.
And he developed this whole theory of implosion as opposed to explosion, which suggested that by creating this vortex-like motion, you could actually generate lift and propulsion without the need for regular engines or propellers.
So instead of pushing against the air, like a traditional airplane,
exactly,
these Nazi UFOs would be pulling themselves through the air.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Using some kind of swirling vortex.
That's the basic concept. Now, whether or not Schauberger's ideas were, actually scientifically sound, or whether the Nazis could actually turn them into, real working aircraft, that's debatable. However, it's definitely intriguing to consider what they might have been exploring these really unconventional technologies.
It definitely adds another layer of mystery.
It does.
To this already fascinating story. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about Hans Kammler, the SS general who headed the Kammler stab.
Yeah.
Farrell suggests that Kammler's disappearance at the end of the war might be linked to something even more astonishing than just the atomic bomb.
Right.
So we talked earlier about the Kammler stab.
Yeah.
And their work on all these cutting-edge technologies.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned that Farrell suggests they might have delved into the occult as well.
He does.
That's where things start to get a little spooky.
Yeah, it gets kind of weird. Farrell explores these connections between the Kammler stab and the Honor Bay, the SS research organization dedicated to investigating all these occult and esoteric doctrines. And he suggests that the Nazis might have actually believed that certain occult principles could be harnessed for military purposes.
Okay, so we have this group of scientists and engineers working on these advanced rockets and jet propulsion, and then they start dabbling in ancient rituals and mystical artifacts.
It's a strange mix, isn't it?
It seems like a strange mix.
It does. But it's important to remember that the Nazi ideology, it was this really complex and often contradictory blend of modernism and occultism.
Right.
So they, embraced scientific and technological progress, but also they were trying to legitimize their rule through myths and symbols and esoteric beliefs.
So they were trying to create a kind of like techno-occult empire.
Kind of.
Is that what Farrell's suggesting?
It's not totally clear what conclusions he ultimately draws, but he does present evidence that the Imurbe was really involved in research into paranormal phenomena, ancient mysteries, all these esoteric traditions.
Wow.
And he suggests that they might have been trying to, unlock these hidden powers or knowledge that could give them an edge in the war.
But how could ancient rituals or mystical beliefs possibly contribute to developing, advanced weapons?
Yeah.
It seems like a stretch.
It does seem like a bit of a stretch, and there's no concrete evidence that they were actually able to weaponize the occult.
Right.
But it's really intriguing to at least consider the possibility that they might have explored these unconventional avenues of research.
Yeah.
Especially given their fascination with esotericism and their just desperate search for any advantage in the war.
That makes sense. It certainly adds another layer of intrigue to this already really complex and multifaceted story.
For sure.
So we have the Kammler stab, this super secret group working on advanced weapons, and potentially dabbling in the occult.
Right.
And then their leader, Hans Kammler,
Yeah.
mysteriously disappears at the end of the war.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to him?
Right.
Did he escape with his secrets? Did he take his research underground?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, and Farrell really explores several possibilities.
Okay.
He examines these theories of Nazi survival, suggesting that Kammler and other key figures, they might have actually fled Germany.
Oh, wow.
With all their knowledge and resources,
Wow.
and potentially establish these secret enclaves in some remote part of the world.
So are we talking about secret Nazi bases in South America?
Maybe.
Hidden underground bunkers?
Possibly.
Maybe even a colony on the moon?
Who knows?
Where does fact end and fiction begin?
Well, it's important to separate the evidence from the speculation. While there's no real concrete proof of a Nazi base on the moon or, some secret society controlling all the world events from the shadows,
Right.
Farrell's book really does raise some really thought-provoking questions about, what actually happened to the Nazi regime's scientific and technological legacy after the war.
Okay, so we're left with more questions than answers.
It seems like it, yeah.
Secret weapons, occult research, disappearing generals, and the possibility of Nazi survival.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like I'm falling down a rabbit hole of historical conspiracies.
You can really get lost in it.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the intrigue and the speculation, but it's important for us to kind of remain grounded in the evidence.
Right.
I think our goal in this dump dive is not to try to prove or disprove, any particular theory, but to just examine the information that's available, to consider these different perspectives, and to really try to make sense of this complex and often contradictory historical puzzle.
Yeah, you're right. We need to be critical thinkers to weigh the evidence carefully and to not just jump to conclusions.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we can't be afraid to explore these unconventional ideas and to ask these difficult questions.
No, of course not.
After all, that's how historical discoveries are made.
Absolutely. History is not this static, fixed narrative.
Right.
It's an ongoing process of inquiry and interpretation and reevaluation.
Uh-huh.
And as we kind of delve deeper into the past, we inevitably uncover new information, new perspectives, and new mysteries.
That's true.
That challenge, everything we thought we knew about what happened.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our exploration for today.
All right.
But I have a feeling this is just the beginning of a much longer journey into the hidden depths of history.
I think so, too.
Mm-hmm.
This deep dive has really just scratched the surface of this fascinating, really complex topic.
Yeah.
There's still so much more to uncover, more evidence to examine, and more perspectives to consider.
Oh, I'm eager to continue our investigation.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll find plenty more twists and turns along the way.
It's fascinating to think about how all these different threads kind of intertwine. We have the development of these advanced weapons, the exploration of, these unconventional technologies, and this underlying current of occult beliefs all swirling together in those chaotic final years of the Nazi regime.
Yeah, it's a pretty potent mix.
Yeah.
And it continues to, intrigue and kind of disturb us all these decades later.
Yeah.
The Nazi regime's just relentless pursuit of power, their embrace of both scientific progress and these kind of esoteric beliefs. And their willingness to just completely cross ethical boundaries in the name of, ideology really offers a chilling reminder of just how dangerous unchecked ambition can be.
It's like a cautionary tale from history, reminding us that, the pursuit of knowledge and technology without any moral constraints can have really devastating consequences.
Exactly. And their actions really do serve as a stark warning about just how important ethical considerations are when it comes to scientific and technological advancements.
Speaking of ethical considerations, Farrell's book also touches on the post-war fate of some of these Nazi scientists and engineers, particularly those who were brought to the United States under Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
It raises some uncomfortable questions about the moral compromises that were made in the name of winning the Cold War.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip was a really controversial program that recruited German scientists, engineers, technicians to come work for the United States after World War II.
Okay.
And the program's goal was to get access to German expertise in things like rocketry, aerospace technology, and other fields that could help give the U.S. this technological edge over the Soviet Union.
But some of these scientists had been involved in the Nazi regime's weapons programs, hadn't they?
Yeah, some of them had.
Didn't that raise concerns about their loyalty and their potential involvement in war crimes?
Oh, it definitely did. And there were, tons of ethical debates about whether or not it was wise to bring former Nazi scientists into the U.S. But the Cold War was heating up.
Yeah.
And the U.S. government, they were determined to gain any advantage they could in this technological arms race.
So they kind of turned a blind eye to the past in the name of national security.
In some cases, I think that's a fair assessment.
It's a reminder that history is often messy and morally ambiguous.
It is.
Even in the face of, great evil, there are compromises made, lines blurred, and really difficult choices that have to be reckoned with.
Yeah, history rarely offers these, easy answers or clear-cut moral judgments. It's up to us to really grapple with these complexities, to learn from the past, and to make these informed decisions about the future.
Well, I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
I agree.
From the potential development of Nazi atomic bombs to these mysterious activities of the Kammerstab and the Honor Bay, we've explored some of the most intriguing and unsettling aspects of World War II history.
We've examined these declassified documents, we've analyzed eyewitness accounts, and really delved into the shadowy world of Nazi science and technology. And while many questions do remain unanswered, this exploration has really shed light on the hidden depths of history.
It has.
And it's challenged our assumptions and made us reconsider what we thought we knew about the past.
It's a reminder that history is not a static, fixed narrative.
No.
It's an ongoing process of discovery and interpretation and reevaluation. And as we continue to delve into the past, we're bound to uncover new information, new perspectives, and new mysteries that will just reshape our understanding of the world.
The pursuit of knowledge is a never-ending journey.
Yes, it is.
An exploration of history with all its complexities and contradictions is essential to understanding not only where we've been, but also where we're going.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end our deep dive on. Thank you for joining me on this fascinating and very thought-provoking journey.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring the hidden depths of history.